We're back. I can't believe I'm doing another one of these tonight. So this is part 8. My name is Jared Bendis, and this is how to create a rail shooter in Game Maker Studio 2, part 8. For those of you who are watching this is about giving my students at the Cleveland Institute of Art a real-world series of tutorials that follow along with their class lesson plans. For this particular demo, however, I am doing every scrap of the demo live in front of you. There is no work being done except in here. There's no work being done on this project that I am not doing live in front of you. That means Photoshop, that means editing, that means every little thing that you possibly can imagine is being done right here in front of you. Now, what that means is, I left a window open. I shouldn't have. I'm gonna have to quickly move to another hidden window so you can't see it, so I can log in and log out and come back to it. All right, so let me come over here, and you'll see why in a second. Because today, if all goes well, we are going to, I think, finish. I think this could be it. This could be the end of the game. We could totally finish the game right now. I'm very excited by that. But I just wanted to come over here and bring up my Google spreadsheet. There we go. So this is sort of the overall design document we've been playing with. And we've done all of this. All the scenarios are done. All the interactions are done. We've done what happens, what it looks like, what it sounds like. Let's look at the game real fast. Let's do a quick recap. I know some people are going to want to see where we're at in Game Maker. I'm told that when the game is started, it's hard to hear me, so listen carefully. Sound. Credits. Instructions. The game. I died. I died. Good job. Hey, I lived. All right. So we've done everything except for two things, which is the data. The data involved in this project involves 3 pieces of information. What our score is, how many lives we have, and this weird thing which we're not going to call levels because each level is the same thing, but we're going to call waves. So score, lives, waves. We need to be able to set them, manipulate them, and most importantly, we need to be able to see them to make this work. Now, we're going to go back, and there are multiple ways of doing this. And some of the stuff I do is a little old school. Some of the stuff is based on bugs that were in the old program. So bear with me for a second if sometimes I seem like I'm a little bit clingy to some of the old ways of doing things. I'm going to go over to Object, and I'm going to start off with the Object main menu. This is the first object that our game sees. It's the object that has the first music loop in it, and it's got the CIS. It's got the letters that we use to press. Let's come back over to the create event. And the create event is very important because this is where I can set my variables. Now, I'm going to be creating 3 global variables. They're global because they need to be able to work in any room in any object. Now, as we're doing this, if you look over here, there's something called set global variable, which is different than assign variable. I'm not going to use the set global variable because at the end of the day, while we're learning to use the drag and drop features of Game Maker, you're eventually going to move into the non-drag and drop features. You do more and more coding as you move along. And by using the assign variable, instead of just typing variable and then the name of the variable, if I begin with the words global and dot, it's a global variable. And that's really what you need to know here. Global dot makes a global variable. And we'll start off with the simple one, wave, right? Which wave am I on? Well, we're going to start out on wave 1. Yay, we're on wave 1. Now, there are certain built-in variables to Game Maker, and they're under, scroll down, they're under things like, where is it? They're under things like, there it is, the instance variables of score and lives. And for some strange reason, I don't know why, I'm never happy with the way the built-in score and lives work. I'm old school, sometimes it works, sometimes, you know what? I'm going to come over and make my own variable called global big score. Don't call it score because score is a reserved term. It may not work for you. So I'm going to call it global big score. And then again, for something silly here, global dot my lives, something that isn't lives, something that isn't score. And of course, for lives, I'll set it to 3. You might want 4. You might want 2. Can't make it 0. You can make it 1, but then what's the point of putting a life situation in? If you only have 1 life, you can never go to the death screen. You'll always go to the game over screen. So there you go. So I've assigned these variables. And where have I assigned these variables? I've assigned it in the main menu the moment the main menu's been created. And this is very nice because when we get to game over and we come back to the main menu, it will reset everything for us right here. So we don't actually have to reset our game. It's going to be right there for us. So far, so good. Good. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to alter these variables. Now, altering these variables is really straightforward. And luckily, we actually made a list, right? It's right over here. Let's take a look at what our list is. We know that when you kill an enemy, you get 100 points. When you kill a bullet, you get 5 points. When you hit the enemy base, you get 30 points. A little plus there, so I remember. That when a bullet, when you miss, you lose a point, and if the base gets hit, you lose 20 points. Though these are the ones we're looking for tonight. So let's do it by the numbers. Enemy hit is worth 100 points. So when is the enemy hit? Well, that is when the hero bullet hits the enemy, right here. Hero bullet hits the enemy. So what are we going to do? We're going to come over here, and we're going to say global dot, oh look, there it is, big score, is equal to 100 relative. Relative means add 100 to it, right? Is 100 correct? Good. Now I can come over here and say that one is done. Next, when bullets collide. When bullets collide, that would be object enemy bullet. I come over here, and I come over here and I say global dot big score, and that's 5 relative. Again, we want to make sure we're adding 5 to our score. We've done that. Congratulations. So, boom, checklist that. And then lastly, when we hit the enemy base, that's 30 points. So when we come over to enemy base, we'll do it again. We're going to say global dot big score, 30 points relative. Any questions? Didn't think so. Really straightforward. At the 3 points of collision, we add the 3 positive numbers. Now we do it again. We've got 2 more negative numbers. We could have done more, but remember, we already did that in the design phase. The design phase was a while. We are now implementing the design that we designed earlier. That's why we need to be thinking about these things strategically and methodically and all that kind of good stuff. All right. Hero bullet leaves, -1. Well, we know where that is. That's still right outside room, right? Outside room. Global dot big score. This time you say -1. Again, relative. So now we subtract 1 from it. See how easy this is when you put it all together nicely. And then lastly, when the hero base is hit, that's the last thing that I'm going to be scoring. You might score different things, and you just have to know where that is. Where is the hero base being hit? That would be when the enemy bullet hits the hero base, right there. And again, I always talk my way through it, because if you can talk your way through it, then it makes sense. Big score. How much did I say that was? Negative what? -20? -20. Relative. And it's always got to put the relative in there. You're going to see this is going to be quite a tricky game when the time comes. So, good. I've saved that. And now we have done all of the score that we need to score. Brought to you by Mellow Yellow, who does not endorse me in any way, shape, or form. But if they decide they want to send me cases and cases of Mellow Yellow, I would be happy to take it. Good. So now we have put in all of our scores. All right. So now that we've put in our scores, we need to go, right, so score lives. All right, when do we die? Well, there's only one place that we die. And actually, this is going to be really fun because this is where we're going to start putting in the other information. we die when the hero death is animation over. There it is. This is where we die. I mean, we die at several points, but this is the only time that it matters, right? So we come over here and we say global dot my lives -1 relative. So far, so good. Makes sense, right? The lives is down to -1. We've just died. The hero animation is just finished animating, and now our lives is -1. So now we put in the big old if statement. If what? If global my life, oh, that's an if expression. I don't want to do that. I want to do an if variable. If global my lives is equal to 0, which means that was it. You had 1 life left, and now you're at 0. Then I would like to jump to a different room. What room do I want to jump to? I want to come over here and jump to the room called Game Over, right? Because there's no more lives. And now I come back over here, and I put in the else command, else, go to room die. If, else. Simple as that. And so we've subtracted it. So now that's all of the data we have for that. So this is when we died. So we've scored up and down, and we've died. The last piece of information is what? Is when we clear the screen. And when we clear the screen is enemy dead, right? Room level up. Well, when we go to room level up, this is when we come over here. This is when we come over here and we say global dot wave is equal to relative 1, which means that we add 1 to it. Now we're going to get to a little bit of a snag with this in a little bit, but we're going to go through there first. Now the first thing is I'm going to hit run. Nothing should make a difference right now. Well, except that we can die. We'll have 3 lives before we die. So this will be the first time we'll hear game over. I didn't say game over. Why didn't it say game over? Well, there's a reason it didn't say game over. We never told it to. Remember? We only tell it to go ooh or it's oh no. If we tell it to do that right. Where is it? Hero death, right? So when does it do that? It actually does it earlier. It actually does the oh no because I want to make the sound at the beginning, right? So it's going to come over here. Where is that? Hero. That's not where the hero hits the enemy bullet. Oh, that's right. It's right over here in hero hitting host, right? So when the hero is hit, it goes, oh no, and then it animates, and then it takes you to the next room. So right before it takes me to the next room, so right when hero death is done animating, right before I get to game over, I'm going to play the sound that says, I'm going to play the sound right here that says, game over. Now, I could have put that in the game over room. I could have said, hey, when the game over screen starts, play the sound game over. That's fine too. This is all a sort of a choice. It's important that the oh no sound happens when you get hit because it's a relationship. You don't need an oh no and then sort of a you died screen. They kind of happen together. But game over has to happen after the oh no. So it goes, oh no, and then you die. And that becomes important because if your death screen had a you died and the game over screen had a game over, then you would have to do one or the other. So you'd have to say, but I want it to be more closer to it. So instead of saying play this sound or play this sound, I'm saying play this sound. And in this case, then play this sound. Again, it's a design choice. You'll make it for yourself and you'll hear what it sounds like. Now you're going to hear me die. That's 1. That's 2. Game over. And that's 3. Game over. And that's the game. Now, at some point, you're going to make a mistake. It's not going to work. You get an error message. 90% of the error messages that you get with variables have to do with the fact that you forgot to initialize them, that you have a typo in the variable. You said global.mylives, but you really meant global.mylife or something stupid like that, and you're not going to have things lined up, which is why you always want to use a drop-down menu when you can. So the moment that I start typing and it comes over here, you'll see global my lives. That's the right spelling. That's the kind of thing you want. Is this making sense? I hope so, because we only have one thing left to do. The game is complete. The game programmatically is complete. What the game isn't is aesthetically complete. We need to decide what it is that we're adding to the game in terms of visually. We need to be able to show the lives, the score, the waves, things like that. Now, inside of GameMaker is kind of a funny thing. It's a bitmap-based program. Everything in here is based on basically pixels. But fonts themselves are not. They're actually scalable vector graphics. They're actually graphics that are drawn based on a series of equations. And because of that, whenever we want to use a font inside of GameMaker, we have to declare the font. And I don't just mean the entire font. I mean, every specific instance of that font we need to declare. I'm over and create a font. And we're going to use two fonts in our program. And we're going to do this kind of called Game Score, which means we're going to be doing something small. Now, let's remember for a moment, inside of Photoshop, we know that everything we've done so far has been in Arial Black. So I'm going to use Arial Black. If I want a 12-point font, I then come over here and call 12-point. If I want a 14-point, if I want a bold, every situation is its new font. So if I wanted an italic, I would make it separate from a regular. So I'm just going to come over here and start with a 14-point Arial Black. This may change, but I want to start there. That font is there. We're going to end up having two fonts, by the way, because the font in our game screen is going to be different than the font in our interstitial screens. It's going to be different than the font on Game Over or Lives or Win, because it's going to be much bigger on those screens, but we're not there yet. We're going to do this one first so we understand the process. We are going to make a brand new object, and this is an object called object display score show score. No sprite with this one. Just like with the other one before, we did code-based things. There's going to be no sprite with this. This is one of the most confusing, so that's the last thing I show you, one of the most confusing events there is. The event that we're looking for is called the draw event. Don't worry about all those types of draws. We just need the draw event. The draw event says, draw on the screen whenever I need to. So it updates when, not constantly, it updates only when it's required to. That's why it's the draw event. There's other types of draw begin, draw end. We learned about step begin and step end. It's very similar. Don't even worry about the GUI and all that kind of stuff. So draw. Now, what this says is you're going to draw something. And what's cool about it is there's a whole section in the drag and drop called drawing. So these are specifically for the drawing event. And what's nice is they pretty much all have to go into a draw. So the first thing we need to do is sort of set our basics. First, set the font. What font do we want? Font Game Score. All right, great. Now that we've done that, we have to say, what color do we want? What color do we want? White. Of course, that's hexadecimal, but I don't have to do hexadecimal. I could all sorts of things. But I'm going to start off with white. And then lastly, what are we drawing and where? Ooh, this is the part that gets a little weird. So I'm going to come over here and say draw value. Now, when I say draw value, it gives me two options. The first option is caption, which I can call whatever I want. So I'm going to call this one score. And the second thing I can do is type in a value, which I'm going to do is global.bigscore. Where do I want to put it? Now, I can be very precise here and just give it XY coordinates. Or I can do 0, 0 relative. If I do 0, 0 relative, which I'm going to do right in the moment, When I go to my room, which room is it, by the way? It's room game. When I go to my room and I grab this object show score, wherever I drop it in the room becomes the 0 point. So if I drop it here, that's where the score is going to appear. Does that make sense? I hope so. So we're going to do it one more time. And now we're going to watch the score go up and down, but only in the game. You ready? Let's hit play. I don't know what hell yeah is, but I'll take it. Hell yeah to what? I'm looking at the chat window. Okay, here we go. Boing, boing. Uh-oh, I died. Boing, boing. Boing. Game over. That was fast, wasn't it? Let's do it again. See if I can boing, boing. Boing, boing. 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 Game over. All right, so it worked. You can see my score. It's readable, which is amazing. Boing. Is amazed by that. Boing. 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 Here, if I get off the screen, it goes down one. Boing. Boing. Good job. All right, and I notice, by the way, the score stays getting bigger and bigger. Boing. 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 9:37. Over. All right, so that works. Now, one of the things that I have to think about, though, is do I need to create a space on my screen? So I mentioned the fact that in the last video that we had to make all those 6 out of 7 screens because the 7th was already made. But was the 7th already made? And let's come back over here and look at this in Photoshop. This is my game right here. This is my game window. And perhaps I need to modify this game to have room for the scoreboard. So I can come over here and I'm going to put in here my scoreboard space, and I'm going to make a nice little, oops, stop that. Make a nice little black box. And decide that this is going to be my scoreboard right up here on my game, right? I could do that. I could even decide to bring down the opacity if I wanted to, so you can kind of see it a little bit more. There we go. So I could do this, make my little scoreboard. I could come over here and I could put a little white stroke around that. There we go. So I got a nice little scoreboard waiting for me there. Now, the question is, how big does this scoreboard need to be? What am I really looking at? Well, the good news is I know exactly what I'm looking at because I've already told you. Remember, this is Arial Black, right? Arial Black. Let's make the text white. And I said it was what, 13 point? Let's hope this is correct. I'm never sure that the font size translates correctly, but let's try this. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say score, lives, waves, All right, I can come over here and do that. And not that we're going to leave this here, I'm just going to leave it here for a minute so I can get a sense of scale, so I can put a relationship between Photoshop and my game. Save as. And I'm going to save this back to PNG file. And now this is going to be my new background. That's right. I'm going to replace the old background with this one. Easy enough to fix later on. Let's come back up to my sprites. And where is it? There's my background. And let's import this one. Make room for this. Did I not save it? Oh, I didn't finish saving it. That would have helped. So I can come over here and import it. Ooh, wrong button. That was bad. I just imported the entire high-res 5,000 pixel image. It's going to take a moment to fix that. How you doing out there? Good. Oh my. Yeah, I was not happy. Let's load this one right. Much happier. All right, so that's loaded. Let's come over here and compare the font that we put in the game with the font that we got from Photoshop. This is really important as we start taking control of everything. Okay, so you can see it's much bigger here than in Photoshop. I'm just going to gauge it, how much bigger is it. Let's go take a look at that real fast. How much bigger is that? So we need a 14-point font there, and we need a 14-point font here, but it's much, much larger. So obviously we've got a relationship problem. Let's come over here and change it to 24 point. Let's see if it's a scale factor thing. All right, save. Let's come over here and do that. Because it's important to realize how these relationships work, especially if you start doing advanced menuing. And I hope eventually you do start doing advanced menuing. All right, let's come back over here to sprite background. Import. Don't import the TIFF. All right. And let's see how the 24-point font in Photoshop means with the 14-point font in Game Maker. Obviously, it's not that much bigger. That's quite right. But it is fun because we can actually start to go from there. We can go, all right, so 14 point isn't it. Let's go to 20 point. So it may just be off by a point or two. It may not be that big of a deal, but still, it's nice to get a sense of relationship because we will be doing this. Right. So now that one's too big. Let's see what the advanced options are. Nope. Nope, not going to look at that at all. All right, let's come over here and look at 18. Close. So the 18-point font in Game Maker is comparable to the 24-point font in Photoshop. So it looks like we're 6 points off. Is that right? All right. So we can get back to that later. In the meantime, I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to save this back so we can get a sense of scale for us. All right, let's come back over here. Let's go back to Game Maker. I like the 18 point. Let us load our background sprite again. Import. All right. Now what's nice about this is if I go back to the room now, let's go back to the game room, I can grab this and I can move it. And remember, if I hold the shift key, if I turn off the what's it called, the grid, I can put it exactly where I want it to. So I can be happy with where I'm putting it. All right. There's a keyboard command override. I always forget what it is. And it's running. Yay! Score! Game over. Okay. So now that we've done that, we have several options in front of us, and it gets a little strange. If I come over to show score, I can do this. Well, I can do this 3 times if I want to, right? I could come over here and I can say copy and paste. Instead of score, I can say lives. And instead of saying global big score, oops, I gotta put that in quotes. Instead of global big score, I can say global my lives, right? Now, I don't want this to be 0, 0, because if I do 0, 0, it's going to be the exact same spot. So I need to drop it down some. And if it's X is this way, Y is this way. So I'm going to say, you know what, go 20 pixels lower. And what's the third one? Well, the third one is waves. And again, you may call it something else. And you can come over here and it'll tell you wave. Excellent. And of course, if I drop this one 20, if I want to drop it further down, it would be 40. Notice I put it all in one command. All right, let's do this. Game over. Boing, boing, boing. Good job. All right, so let's look at this for a minute. Well, first of all, wave is wrong. It should be, waves is wrong. It should be wave. All right. Second of all, if we come back over to our font, it's still a little big. So let's change our font size to, let's close that, 18. Let's move it down to 16. See if that makes it look a little better. And yeah, this is definitely trial and error. You could do some of the design ahead of time in Photoshop, but then you'll have to figure out exactly how you're going to implement it. Now they're a little crowded. You see that? They're quiet together. So 20 is not right. Let's go back to show score, and let's make this 24 and 48. And let's go back to the room and see if it's a little the right spot for us. And if I want to, I can move it a little bit even more that way. Let's try it again. So we're going to be very precise in how we put this together. And when I grade my students, I actually grade them to see just how closely they can make this clean. There you go. See how nicely that's laid out? Game over. Boing. Boing, boing, boing. 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 Good job. Boing, boing, boing. Boing, boing, boing. Boing. Game over. All right. I probably can move that down just a teeny bit. That's just me being funny. Great. So now we have to ask ourselves, are we happy with the box? I think we are for the most part. If I wanted to, I could, there's some other tricks I could do, but I'm not going to do it right now. Let's talk about the next part of this. And the next part of this is we need to be able to show the score and the lives and the waves, but we need to do it on the big screen, as in like on the interstitial screens. Let's do it again. This time I'm just going to duplicate the object and make it much easier. I'm going to say show score big. Right? We know we wanted to draw the same thing. We wanted to draw lives and score and whatever, but we want a different font. So I'm going to come over here to this font and I'm going to duplicate this font as well. But this time, instead of being called Game Score 1, I'm going to call it Game Score Big. Right? I'm just going to duplicate it. And I'm going to make it big. I'm going to make it 48 point. Oops, not 49 point, 48 point. That's nice and big. Actually, it may not be big enough. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to go 64 point. There we go. 64 point font. So I come over here and I say use the big font. This is the big font score. And if I come over, I'm going to put it on the two rooms that it matters. Level up, which I never seem to get to. Put it right there. And I'm going to put it on die, which I get to all the time. I'm not going to put it inside of game over because game over is going to be slightly different. What's slightly different about game over is that you don't show the number of lives. Let's see if this works. It won't, by the way. There's a mistake. But I left it on purpose. All right, what's wrong with this? Well, there's three things wrong with this. Number one is that font is way too big. Number two, I didn't separate it down far enough. So let's drop it down. All right, so let's go back to the first change the font. 64 was too big. Let's make it 30. Good. Now let's change the spacing. 48 and 96. Again, I'm just giving myself a starting point. There's a trick, by the way, to making the spacing perfect, which I may or may not talk about. All right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. The problem is that I like the size of this, but now we realize that this box is way too tall. Not only is the box way too tall, but it's not long enough. I need to really take a look at this carefully. I mean, really take a look at this carefully. But I do like the size. Game over. All right, so we got somewhere. I'm happy with some of it, but there's some mistakes. Let's look at it one more time and see if we can fix our visual mistakes. There's programmatic mistakes which are separate from visual mistakes. First things first, that score is it's the good size, but it's probably needs to be half the size, right? Nowhere near that big. Nowhere near that big. And if the score gets really big. Over. And this needs to come out way further. All right. So let's go back to our problem right here. So the first one is this thing is way too big. All right, so let's do that. And it's put in the middle of the screen. All right, so that feels a little bit more respectable to us. So we've done that. File, save as, PNG, and that is going to be our background. Good. Yay. Now, one of the other things we notice is from a consistency perspective, I like that little white border. So let me come over here and copy that layer style. Let's get rid of this. And now we've got to fix our windscreen. All right, let's look at our windscreen real fast. Let's paste the layer style. So we can get that. I like that. And now I need to come over here and change it. So I'm going to make it not as tall, but much, much wider. That's much better, right? I think that's going to feel a little bit better for a game, right? That feels right. Now the problem here is I'm going to come over here and save that one. File, save as, PNG. What is this one? This is the windscreen. Level up. Done. Now I'm going to come over here and duplicate this layer because this layer exists in 3 other layers. So I got to come over here and take care of it. I mean, again, that's why we were so careful in the last one. So remember, there's the die screen. Pop it in there. Get rid of this old death screen. Right, there's the you've been hit. That's a nice die screen. Save as. Again, consistency is everything. And that would be the that would be the die screen. And then duplicate this layer. And we'll take it up to game over. I somehow just stuck that in credits by mistake. That would be bad. Wait, where did I put that? There it is. There we go. It's in game over instead. There it is in game over, so I can delete the old box there. Very good. Oh, now this is why we do everything modularly, so I can grab these two layers, slide them out of the way so it's effective. File, save as. Notice, by the way, I kept the text box in the same spot because I want it to be consistent. And that would be game over. And again, the layers are all there waiting for us. And I can come back up here and I can reload game over. Import. Where is it? Game over. Oh, looks much nicer, right? Level up. Import. Level up. That's so much nicer. And die. Import. Die. So everything looks nice. Let's go back to our die room because that's the one we can do all the time. Let's come over here. Notice, by the way, now we have moved this. So I'm going to turn off the grid. I'm going to put it here. I think I'm going to be happy with it there. Notice I'm not doing it in the win room yet. I'm only doing the die room. I'll explain why I start this one first, because I want things to be consistent, and I don't want to have to alter things in multiple places. It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, this looks great. This looks great. Plenty of room, nicely centered. I nailed it. This I didn't fix. Forgot to reload that one. So let's reload that one. Sprite background. Let's import this and fix this one too. And that's the thing about this. And I know I'm spending all this time on these things, but that really is the point, right? I'm spending all this time on each of these things because if you want it to be perfect, you need to spend the time on it. So notice, by the way, now this is the wrong spot. So I can put it over here. Hopefully that's the right spot for it. I've just adjusted that. Let's hit play again. We're so close, folks. So close. All right. All right, that's in the wrong spot. Up and over. That's the right spot. That means let's go up a little bit. Just up a little bit. And the nice part is with the grid off, I can use the arrow keys. Now take a look at where the bullets are in relationship to the numbers. Nice. This is kind of funny. Do you see it? Good job. See, I have to move to the other spot. So one of the things I want to point out real fast is that the score is actually underneath the score is actually underneath, on top of everything else, which is kind of very, very strange. So we're gonna have to try to figure out how we can fix that, and we can fix that because you have to ask yourself which one is it on, which layer is it on, right? And if we come over here into the room, let's go back into the room game, right? If I come back over into the game room, we put the score in the explosions room, not in the instances room, right? See, I put it in the wrong spot. So I come over here and I put it back in. Can I do that? Let's come over here and cut it. Let's go into instances and paste it. And I've got to ask myself, where do I want it? And if I put it over here, that should be on the lowest level. Let's see if that's true. So you want to make sure, again, that you control where the text is, because you don't want it on top. Boing, boing. And it is, it's on top. So I want it on bottom, which means I'm going to drag it to the top, because it reads from top up. It's so straight. It reads this way. So now if we do this, the score should be underneath. There we go. That feels much better. Good job. That's weird. I think the explosions are on top of it. All right, let's come over here and make a brand new instance layer called instance. Let's rename it instance text. All right, and we go to the instance layer and we grab the show score and we put it into this layer instead. And then we put this one way up top. So this should be the absolute bottom. Absolute bottom. That's where you start thinking about all the little details. Boing. On top. Let's go the other way around. Let's put this one right here. There we go. Let's put it there instead and see if that works. All right. This is so weird. I want it on the bottom. I want it where the background is. Boing, boing. There we go. Boing, boing. Boing, 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 boing. Good job. All right. That makes sense, by the way. These explosions are on the very top, so I want this on the very bottom. And that takes care of that. So the game looks good. Let's go back over to the win screen, right? The lose screen, the die screen. I like where am I? There we go. Let's go over the die screen. So if I come over here to object show score big, you'll notice there it says, if I click over, hover over it, it says 84,209. That's the XY coordinates, which is great, by the way. It's very, very useful for that. So at any given moment, you can see the XY coordinates of the object that I'm looking for. Matter of fact, not only that, if I double click on the list here, it'll show me 84 and 209. This is something I haven't shown you before. Let's come back over here and show you that. So if I come over here to the list of objects, and I double click on it, it says 84,209. Why this is useful is if I come over to level up and I double click on it, I can type in 84,209. So now I can mathematically get the thing in the exact same spot. It's pretty awesome, by the way. Now I'm going to come over and do it one more time. Actually I'm not. I'm going to leave it there for now. Let's just take a look at where we're at and what's missing. So deep breath, take a look, because we have like one thing left to do. See if I can win. I need to win. Good job. Awesome. Okay. So everything looks good. Wave 2. That means we're going to wave 2. Everything looks good. So all I gotta do is game over. That's it. All I gotta do is game over. So the game over credits, the game over numbers are just like the non-game over numbers. So I'm gonna duplicate this. Draw big game over. Except I want to take away the wave. I don't need it. Done. Score and what am I saying? I want to take away the lives. I need score and wave. I don't need lives. So I can put the number 48 back in there. And if I go to the game over screen, I can come over here and bring it in right there. Now the cool thing is we know I can go to the die screen and look at the old one. And this is what I said, 84 by 209. So I can come over here to game over. And I can say 84 by 209. So the 84 is right. The 209 is wrong, because the 209 tells you where it is up and down. And obviously we can afford to bring it down a little bit because we only have 2 numbers instead of 1. Let's take a look and a listen. Good job. Good job. Good job. Game over. I could drop that down a little bit. Let's see what 64 looks like. And again, I could have fewer lives so it'll end quicker if I wanted to. That's 1. Boing. That's 2. That's 3. Game over. See how nicely that is? It's beautiful. And that's it. That's all it is. It is this last part is a process of figuring out what design you want it to look like. What does it look like in Photoshop so you can create the little spaces for it? What font and font sizes you want? What is the spacing, the location? All the little things that you need to do to make it look perfect. That's it. So we're done. The game is complete. I'm not even joking. It's it. That's the entirety of the game. I have no more features I'm trying to implement. I'm done. So what do I do now? What are the next steps here? Well, there's a couple next steps. The first thing is you could always file, export project, and you can save it as a YYZ exported file. What this does is it's a zipped package of all of your source materials. And this is what my students have to turn into me so that I can open it up, compile it, check to see how they did and if they were really doing little good things. The other thing you have to ask yourself is, how are you going to deliver this? And what happens is if I come down to options, it's going to show all the various ways in which you can export the game. Now, you won't have all of these. You probably don't have the big thing that I do. I have the full version, so I have everything. But if I come over here to main, I can start to look at some of the things in here. It tells me how long I've been in the project. I can't imagine have I really spent 2 days, 11 hours, and 12 minutes with this project open? Wow. Really? No, I can't be right. All right. So the real trick is, if I come over here to the platform settings, under Windows, I can come over here. You see where it says Rail Shooter Demo? That's the display name. But it says Company Yo-Yo Games. Well, it's not Yo-Yo Games. It's my company, Granola Games. I put in the copyright 2020 Jared Bendis. We've done a little bit of this already. A Game Maker Studio game. What did we call it? We have a name for the game now. I totally forgot. It's better than that. It's called Kingdom of the Red Sky. Right? Let's come back over here. Right? So what's it called? Kingdom Kingdom of the Red Sky. And we will call it that. And we will call it that. A rail shooter. Good. So we put all that stuff in there. So I've done that. Under graphics, I can display the cursor, all this sort of things. You leave it alone. Great. This is where it gets fun. Icon, splash screen. Right now we're not using a splash screen, so it doesn't matter. But if we wanted a splash screen, we'd edit it here. And if we wanted to make our own icon, we would actually load one of the ICO files. And we can have a whole nother conversation when it comes to fussing and fighting, how to create your own ICO file so that your icon will look special. And then, of course, for the installer, we can actually come over here and change the graphics in here as well if we're doing an installer. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a version, I'm going to do a version without an installer so to make my life a little bit easier. Isn't that cool? You got to think about all the little things that you would do. If you're a Macintosh user, let me come back over here. If you're a Macintosh user, sort of the same sort of thing. You would change the name, the copyright, things like that. A lot of the little things that you can do there, graphics, images, you can put in the icon here, of course, is actually an actual 1024 by 1024 PNG, which is very different. All right, that's the Mac OS, right? We can do that. What I actually am going to be focusing on, though, for our purposes is HTML5. HTML5 is going to be how I'm planning on distributing this. It's the web version of this. This whole thing has been designed for a website. So under HTML5, I do not want Made in Game Maker Studio 2. It's Kingdom of the Red Sky. I don't care about the version number because it's sort of version 1. This is all back end. I create an HTML file, game, this type of stuff. So I'll leave these as is. What's neat about it is if I come over here to images, I also can change the icon. That would, again, be using an ICO file. You're familiar with that. There are actually little icons on the web. And I can change the splash screen if I wanted to, and I'm not using a splash screen at all. So I come over here and I do that. I can also come over here and center the game in the browser or leave things by default, which we're going to do right now. Okay. So I'm going to hit save. And now I have decisions to make about what we're going to do. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change this to HTML5. You're not going to do this, by the way, because you can't. You can make yours Windows. You know what? I'll do what you do. I'll do for your Windows. Build. Create executable, and I can either package as an installer or I can package as a zip. And the zip file just means I unzip and run it, which is why I prefer it. So I don't want to install. Packages as a zip, and there it is, Rail Shooter Demo. It's going to be right there. I hit save, and it's going to compile this program that I should be able to run outside of Game Maker, and it'll tell me it's done, and it's done. I'm going to do it again, though, and this time I'm going to change it from Windows to HTML5, which is what I am going to be using. I'll do the same thing, create executable, package as zip, and it's going to be a different zip file. I'm going to call this Rail Shooter HTML, and it's going to go through, and this takes a few more minutes. While it's compiling, I'm going to get out of Photoshop. Excuse me. And let's take a look. So here's the demo that we made earlier. I'm going to extract the zip file that it created for me. And it's going to create, and it's going to show me, oh, look, there's a demo. There's the executable that I told it to make. And if I double click on it, there it is. It may give you a warning message first. I've defaulted over them. Game over. That's it. It's a little folder here that I could give to people, and they can unzip and they could run and they can play my game, which is very exciting. All right, let's come back over here though, and we're going to find that there's the HTML version. If If I extract all here, this can be a little bit different. It may or may not run locally. Sometimes they don't, but I want you to see what the difference is here. So with this one here, it's a folder. So I'll just run it. Double click on it, and it's going to say, be careful. And I'm going to say, don't care. And it all goes well, it will run, but it's not going to run because it doesn't like to run these things locally. It's a security thing where it wants to run it off of a website. So if I upload this to a website, it'll run just fine, but it won't right here, right now. Also, because it's 1024 by 768, you need to make sure that your screen size is at least 1024 by 768. But uploading it to a website's a secondary thing. We can talk about that in later polish conversations. I want to talk more about what's in this folder, though. There's the icon. There's the HTML. And under the HTML5, this is going to show all of the pieces parts that this is made out of. And this is kind of very strange because look at the large icons. What you're going to notice is that it's got... let's come over here. What it's going to have is every piece of sound effect has been converted into an MP3 and an OGG file. And then every graphic that we used is now put inside of this texture, which if I come over here, I want to preview it. So let's see where's preview? Oh, we screw this one up. Open with, there it is. So I want to open it up with not Paint, Jesus. Let's go over here and open up with a fast image viewer, which I'm sure oh, there it is. So you see what it's done. It's very funny. This is the font turned into images. These are every single graphic that we need laid out in these sheets that has full access to. The funny part is put all the graphics right in here. Like every drop of graphic, it's put in a way that it can use it. Where's the star from? I don't even know where that is from. Anyway, so this is it. This is everything that we have right here put there. So it's a dangerous thing when you go to a website. And you have a way to obfuscate it a little bit more so people can't see it. But that's the way it is. Let's see. This page is stored. Block audio. Permissions. Let's see if we can get this to run. All right, so I'll upload that a little bit later so you can see it. I'll probably do that as a different demo. But in the meantime, that's it. I mean, you can see here that we have all these files. And again, you grab this folder and you throw it on a website and it will work. Or you grab the executable images here and they work. So thank you for watching. There will be one more little polish demo I'll do on top of this. So I'm not going to say goodbye just yet, but this is the end of your lesson. This is the end of what you need to know right now. So if you're watching this on Twitch, please subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, ring that bell and follow me and like me and all that kind of good stuff. My name's Jared Bendis, and there'll be one more little version of this. Don't expect too much, though, for the last version of the Rail Shooter demo. So thanks for watching.